I love the Forza series. It's one of the reasons why back in 2015 I got an Xbox One over a PS4. And it's definitely, out of the very few exclusives that Xbox has, it's definitely one of their highest quality ones. It's basically at this point the bread and butter for them. It's one of the highest quality racing series out there. And it's approachable to those both who prefer arcade style racers and those that prefer simulation. It creates a perfect balance of the two. But of course there are other racing series out there. I'm sure that the PS4 has them. It'd be nice to take a look at one of the games that PS4 has to offer if I had a PS4. Oh wait, I do! One trip to GameStop later. Today, me as a Forza player, I got to try Driveclub, a PlayStation 4 exclusive, for the first time, and I thought I'd offer my perspectives on it. Of course, it's not as big of a difference as something like Gran Turismo Sports would be, but that one, if I ever even give it a rent, that one I'm holding off on because I've heard a lot bad about it, and it leans way too close to simulation sort of genre for my comfort. But anyways, it's like right off the bat, I noticed different because it throws you into a race right away. And there were two things that were off-putting kind of right away, like right off the bat. The first one was the driving line, because I'm used to, of course, I mean, even other games that try to copycat even just a little bit, Forza, have a green driving line, and when it's time to brake, that thing goes from green to yellow and then red, and Driveclub doesn't have that, so it's not as bad taking corners. So it's like, even if you're unprepared, the repercussions aren't going to be as severe as if you took a corner wrong in Forza. So that's not a problem. But then the second thing that I'm used to, not that I have to use it a lot, but there are times I have to use it at some points, especially when I turn the bots up to unbeatable, which I have been doing a lot of recently, is rewind. That's something that not only Forza has, but some other games like the Grid series have. So that gets a little difficult to get used to. And then having multiple objectives in races was kind of interesting. I mean, I personally I like how straightforward Forza is, both Horizon series and the Motorsport series, is that you're either you're racing other people, and you're basically supposed to come in first, or as close to first as possible, or you have to beat the time trial lap. But in this, there's everything from time trials to to racing other opponents, to having to beat the drift record in the Driveclub drift record in the race, to having to obtain a certain speed in that race, to beating certain lap times in it. And to be honest, when I'm in a race game, the only thing I want to have to focus on is finishing first place. And I mean, they don't get too in the way of this, but considering that there isn't too much, I mean, I like to state right off the bat that I'm playing the vanilla version, and I don't have PlayStation Plus because my PlayStation 4 is still having network issues, so I'm not playing multiplayer games yet. There's just tour and there's single events. So when you're going into like single events, there's all these courses that each of them have either 3 stars or 6 stars you can obtain per event. And then there will be the second tier, which is amateur. And then you'll get into the third tier, which is semi-pro. And then professional, legend, and it just goes on like that. And there's 225 stars in total in the career mode. And so far I've got 14. But the tiers, like, you have to unlock certain amounts of stars per tier to advance to the next one. And what I'm used to is just driving from point A to point B, or from point A all the way around to point A again, and then doing it one more time. I'm getting into the game more. When I first did the first race, I was like, oh god, I just want to go back to Forza. But this isn't a bad game to have on the PS4, especially considering the PS4 is kind of pretty limited on racing games, at least compared to Forza in quality of it. But now it's something I'm at least glad I have a racing game on the PS4. And to be fair, this did have to kind of compete. When it came out, it was competing with Forza Horizon 2, which, in my opinion, Forza Horizon 2 was the best Forza Horizon game there is. The other ones are phenomenal too, but it's the one that got me into Forza as a whole, even more so into the Horizon series, to where I usually pick up the new one every year. I never picked up 7, but maybe I'll pick up 8 when it comes out. Another thing I've noticed is that even compared to Horizon 2, and even all of the Forza games, is that the customization is pretty limited. I mean, you have set like patterns and stuff you can unlock. You can change the colors of all that and stuff. But in Forza, compared to any other game, you will not find better like customization, at least design-wise and stuff, to your vehicle in any other game. There are people that, I mean, if you go to out just any car, you'll have people that will make like full anime like characters. Some of them, like, you'll see like the Scooby-Doo van, or my favorite, the Payday van. You'll have people that will make full like cartoons, full-on games. They'll make full-on characters, and they'll have like perfect detail by detail, which means like basically unlimited customization options if you have the skill to make those, or if other people have the skill to make them and decide to make those designs public. And here on the Driveclub, you just have basic, generic, like what you'd find in Need for Speed sorts of designs and colors. One thing this game was ahead of against Forza in the customization department was the character customization, because you can customize your character's head from eight different heads per gender, and there are 5 different bodies you can have, which are just basically different variants of clothing. There are also some similarities like that. Of course, like Forza, this game has clubs too. You can create a club or join a club, and like as you race and level up your default level, you'll also level up your club rank too, which having a club or being a part of a club is kind of necessary, especially considering that a lot of the vehicles are let me say one thing first. Vehicles aren't like in Forza, because you unlock them by leveling up, but not only do you unlock them by driver level, but there are also some vehicles that you unlock by your club level too. So if you can get in a club or just start your own, then it's kind of mandatory that you do so. That way you unlock both the driver level vehicles and the club level vehicles as well. Going back to the controls, you can race with the controller, which of course is normal, with a steering wheel, which of course you can do that with Forza, or if you have a Vita, you can do remote play, which I have my Vita. It's been not charged for a while, but I don't know if due to the firmware update being or the firmware version being older, if I'll be able to remote connect to it, but I may try later. But in one thing I also like to point out about in the racing itself is, I know how like in at least the motorsports, there's penalties to a certain degree, a lesser degree, like how if you cut the course, you'll get penalized and your speed will decrease. Well, this one, if you drive like a douche and you just ram the other person in front of you to get past them, you get penalized for that too, which is something in Forza that I kind of do a lot more often than is healthy, especially on those higher difficulties. How it just seems whenever you pick a real good car, there's just always that one racer, always the same drivatar even, that is just a little bit better than you, and it'll always be leading the pack. So it's like when you finally actually manage to get within drafting distance and a corner comes up, you just want to ram their ass right off the road. And In this, you can't exactly do that, or else you'll get penalized. All in all, I'd say this isn't the best racing game, but it's not the worst. If you're an Xbox or Windows 10 player and you're coming from Forza, this isn't going to be your PlayStation fix for or replacement for that. So I'd suggest just sticking to Forza. But if you're coming from another platform, I'd say this is definitely a good racing game for the PS4. It shows that it's outdated though. I mean, in content wise, it doesn't seem too filled with. It definitely doesn't have as many cars as Forza. That's for sure. There's lots of cars in Forza, and this just isn't it. But what it's got, it doesn't have too bad a collection of cars. It's got like a sort of variety, but it's definitely not a Forza sort of game. And that's like, well, I would say that is the sad thing, that Forza kind of dominates the racing market. Like, there's just nothing that can compete with it, both in the open world on the streets aspect and in the motorsports sort of section, because it seems, especially with exclusives, quote unquote exclusives, because it's also on Windows 10, that's kind of Microsoft's bread and butter, for at least for the game wise, because now they've got like Game Pass and all this other stuff that will be making them money. Yeah, this has definitely been interesting. At first I was only going to do like a rental of this or something, but since I made a long trip to GameStop and they didn't have either game that I was looking for, one being a Horizon Zero Dawn and Akiba's Trip game, but nowhere nearby had those. So I stood around and just eventually decided on doing a trade-in towards Driveclub. And first I was kind of disappointed that I traded that, but now I'm okay with that. It's a racing game on the PS4, which I've got to have at least one racing game on whatever platform I'm playing on, because I love racing games, especially ones that are in the first person perspective, which that's another thing. It feels like pretty much the only way to play this one is in first person. It just seems like nothing captures the sort of third person view of driving like Forza does, even though in Forza I prefer, unless I'm off-road in a Horizon game, to drive in first person. It's just as simple as that. But anyways, yeah, that was my experience on Driveclub, coming from the Xbox, coming from Forza in 2018. Maybe in the future I'll possibly eventually end up giving Gran Turismo Sports a try. Maybe at most just a try, at best a rental, because I don't like I already when it first came out, even though I didn't have a PS4 at the time, I didn't like how most of the stuff was blocked off if you weren't connected to online, which, even if I can fix my network issues right now with my PS4, I still don't want to have that future worry for if I'm ever offline, just having like a sliver of a game. But that's beyond the point. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you liked this video, and if you want to see more sort of things like this. This has been Warsaw in the Game Club's channel, and I'm out.